This season of Wait For It is brought to you by Big Fig Mattress. So I have a king-size Big Fig because I love to feel luxurious when I sleep, but also when I'm just hanging out, watching television, scrolling my phone, or when I have company over. This mattress is ready to be supportive. Whether you describe yourself as fat, fluffy, plus-sized, or even big-boned, this mattress is going to hold you up. I was apprehensive to get one at first, but Big Fig offers a 120-night trial just to make sure it's the right mattress for you. And trust me, it won't take you that long to decide that this mattress is the one. Go to the link in our show notes and take the Bed Builder quiz to get exclusive discounts on your new Big Fig. Hello, Wait For It listeners. I hope you're enjoying the show. And I want to invite you to check out another Oh It's Big Ron Studio show called Leaving the Theater. Leaving the Theater is a television and film review podcast that started with me reviewing movies as I walked out of the theater immediately after seeing them. It's now expanded to include me reviewing television and streaming titles on my couch as well. These are the freshest take on what we just watched, and it's a lot of fun. On each episode, I talk with my movie-loving friends or colleagues from other podcasts, and we rate whatever we watched from 1 to 5 stars. If you're an overthinker like me, you'll enjoy agreeing and disagreeing with my analysis. Again, that's Leaving the Theater, available everywhere you listen to podcasts. What's up, everybody? It's Ronald, and I hope you are enjoying 2025 to the best of your ability. I am hard at work on pre-production for season 3 of Wait For It, which will come out later this year, probably in the late summer, early fall. So I'm really excited to get that to y'all, and I'm working hard on those episodes. I'm booking interviews, I'm thinking about themes, all of that. We're just kind of ideating season 3. But in the meantime, I have another job, and that is hosting a show called Pop Culture Debate Club from Lemonada Media and the BBC. So on Pop Culture Debate Club, what happens is I have 2 guests that feel very passionate about opposing ideas. They come on the show, they debate those ideas, and then I decide who the winner is. We've discussed everything from the Mission Impossible franchise versus the Fast and Furious franchise, the movie A League of Their Own versus Apollo 13. That's a battle of Tom Hanks. And we've even discussed Spike Lee versus Tyler Perry. All of my guests have very specific perspectives about the pop culture topic that they bring to debate on the show. And I'm so excited to bring y'all one episode that we did called iPhones versus Androids. Of course, this is the eternal debate for most of you who hate the green bubble. You hate it so much. Why is your bubble green? Or why is it blue? I don't know. As an Android user, I do not know what my texts look like on an iPhone. I just know that I get a lot of hate for having an Android. So we discussed that with our guests, Langston Kerman and Baron Vaughn. So if you like this and you want to hear more, every single week we have a brand new debate on Pop Culture Debate Club. So go subscribe wherever you're listening, even where you're listening right now. That's Pop Culture Debate Club from Lemonada Media and the BBC. Again, that's Pop Culture Debate Club with me, Ronald Young Jr. Thanks for listening. Without further ado, here's the episode. This season of Wait For It is brought to you by Big Fig Mattress. I've been sleeping on a Big Fig for nearly 2 years now, and let me tell you, this mattress is fantastic. As a bigger guy, I've had problems in the past with mattresses that sag over time, but that's not an issue I've had with Big Fig. From the first time I laid on it, I could tell the difference in support. It held me up without being uncomfortable or hard. It has an extra firm mattress edge that gives a bit of a larger sleep surface. It also has something called thermogel cooling technology that, as a person who is almost always running hot, keeps me nice and cool while I sleep. But also, Big Fig is now more than a mattress company. I recently got a hold of their sheets, pillows, and my personal favorite, a big old fluffy adjustable body pillow. Yes, I said adjustable. You can remove some fluff and make it as soft and squishy as you would like. All of these items are now available on the Big Fig website, and you can bundle multiple items and get discounts as you redo your entire sleep system. Go to the link in our show notes and take the Bed Builder quiz to get exclusive discounts on your new Big Fig. Democrat or Republican, religion or atheism, monogamy or polyamory. All questions of importance when it comes to choosing a partner, whether romantic or platonic. But there is one question that is the red flag of all red flags, the ultimate deal breaker: iPhone or Android. iPhone users are haunted by the inconvenience of interfacing with smartphones outside of the Apple ecosystem. Android users are annoyed by grand iPhone updates made for features they've had for years. Are your bubbles green or blue? Which device and or operating system will come out on top? Is it iPhone or Android? We make that decision once and for all right here and right now on Pop Culture Debate Club. I'm Ronald Young Jr. Let's meet our panelists for the day. Representing iPhones, you might know our first guest from his role as Jared on HBO's hit series Insecure, but he's also a hilarious stand-up comedian whose new special, Bad Poetry, is on Netflix right now. Hello and welcome, Langston Kerman.
Hell yeah. Thank you for having me. What a lovely introduction.
I love that you're no stranger to controversy, as your appearance on Insecure was the subject of a lot of think pieces online.
Yeah, 7 years ago, people were real upset. Yeah. Now no one cares, but at a time.
I'm deep in a rewatch, so I always think about, man, justice for Jared.
Yeah, I wish people would stop saying that to me. I'm frankly a human man who did not experience any of the things that Jared did, and boy, would it be nice to have moved on with my life. But truly, every Instagram post I put up, there's somebody being like, Molly did you wrong, dog. And it feels crazy at this point.
This is a testament to your acting, I would say.
Or maybe just the show in general. I think certainly Issa and the team put together something truly long lasting for a lot of people. So hats off to them, and leave me alone. Both can be true.
I can promise you no more mentions of Jared throughout the rest of this episode, but let's meet your opponent. Today, joining us, repping androids, is stand-up comedian and star of shows like Netflix's Grace and Frankie and Comedy Central's The New Negroes, also the classic film Black Dynamite, and a smaller role of a show that I've been recently rewatching, Ken the Security Guard on Superstore. Hello and welcome to the show, Baron Vaughn.
Oh, what's up? I love that you had to mention 4 credits to equal Langston's 1. And I'll tell you, when Langston started posting clips of his special, I wanted to make sure I got the top comment. So I said, is that Jared from Insecure? And blew up that comment.
A lot of likes on that one.
No, I'm happy to be here. Happy to rep the Android clan. We ain't nothing to mess with, especially because you don't seem to understand us that much.
All right. Well, I think we've done enough pleasantries. Are y'all ready to fight?
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Wow. You come in hot.
Yeah. You can hear how heated it's already gotten. We both clearly just woke up. So let's do this.
Langston, let's start with you. Give me your opening argument about what's so great about iPhones.
Okay, I prepared some words. iPhones. That's how I begin. iPhones. They are as deeply rooted in the American experience as circumcised penises and pretending not to have change with homeless people.
Oh my God.
I'm not here to argue that iPhones are good. They are not. My life was better before a pocket robot could tell me what Little Bow Wow was doing at all times. None of this is the way we should be living. But if I have to live with this inescapable evil constantly radiating my crotch, then I prefer it be the sexiest evil money can buy. iPhones are simply the best kind of bad. They look nicer, they're easier to use, and Rihanna has one. And who are any of us to argue with Rihanna? Androids with their unnatural weight and their screens made from the glass at dangerous fast food restaurants. Not only do androids lack pizzazz, they also lack a story. The iPhone tells you the story of a brave man, Steve Devontae Jones, a bold man who put on a turtleneck and some little glasses and steepled his hands and pretended to invent world-changing technology. But who pretended to invent the Android? Who? Neil deGrasse Tyson? We don't know. There's no narrative there. There's no story. Frankly, folks, there's no heart. And that's why the iPhone is a just finer piece of material.
Wow. In all of my 2 episodes of hosting Pop Culture Debate Club, that was the most impassioned and prepared argument I've ever heard. Mr. Vaughn, I hope that you are ready with an opening argument that is as good as that one for Androids.
Thank you
what
for
a
asking.
nasty way to prep him.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
I'm just
Goodbye.
trying to set him up.
See you guys later. I'm done. That's it. Okay, well, I'll say that I used to be an iPhone user myself. That's right. I used to be an iPhone user, but sometimes when you go through the slaughterhouse, you come out on the other side not wanting to eat meat. And in this case, meat is the iPhone. You see, I have grown frustrated over the years with the conformity of the iPhone, the lack of customization, the way that it just gets mad at you. And it used to feel like for a while that having an iPhone meant that you were going to pay $1,300 a year to continue to have an iPhone because of the thing that they brought into the world. I would say that Apple brought this into the world and made this more of a business plan than any other cell phone company. And that is my 2 least favorite words: planned obsolescence. They want you to get addicted to what they have done to you, so that way when they break it, you have to pay them to fix it. That's why they call their service Apple Care. They want you to pay them to care. That's how they see you as a customer, and that's how they see you as a phone user and as a human being. Scene.
This is interesting. You both of you are setting the parameters for one, phones being evil, and it seems that Mr. Vaughn has gone with the affirmative defense of saying this is how we're seen as just sheep to the slaughter. Langston, do you have a rebuttal to that?
I do. I what I would say to that is while I fully agree that I don't know that that Apple, Tim Cook and his squad are deeply impassioned about my survival. I don't believe that they care about me as an individual. What I would rebut in saying is, I don't know that Daddy Android gives a fuck about you either. I'm not sure that the white corporation desperately trying to overachieve against the Apple Corporation is like, yeah, but at the end of the day, we care about our customers. None of them care about us. Not one of them gives a fuck. And some of them find ways to not care out loud. And some of them find ways to care very quietly. And frankly, I prefer someone not care about me out loud so I know exactly how to deal with them rather than Androids, which I presume are going to be sort of round one in the in the NSA full takeover of phones and technology.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny that you assume that Android would be round one when Apple has the larger market share. So the more that you take over Apple, the more people's phones you got access to, right? The other thing that I think is interesting that people say is we're talking about Androids as if they are a monolith, and they are not. And that is the thing that I continue to prefer, because if you talk about an iPhone, you talk about Apple, you're talking about one product, which a lot of people think is attractive and that feels safe and good to them. But when you're talking about Android, you're talking about a variety of different phones that work in a variety of different ways. You have more options that are more customizable. You got Motorola, you got Samsung, which I think Samsung is the top of the crop in my personal opinion. Now, of course, there's a phone that I believe the company's called Huawei, a Chinese company that we really don't want in this country. I don't think you can actually buy a Huawei phone at any store. You'd have to special order it. But I'm just saying that all of these different phone companies are trying to achieve something that is the pinnacle of phoneability. I'm just trying to coin phrases here. The pinnacle of phoneability in the panopticon, right? That's a word.
I think so.
Of Androidness. Just saying that, like, an Android phone is not one thing, and that's what I continue to enjoy.
We'll be back with more Pop Culture Debate Club after this break. Baron Vaughn, while you have the mic, could you do me a favor and describe a typical iPhone user? Who's the average iPhone user?
Complacent. Lazy, I believe is the the average iPhone user, I think it's a person that thought that they were going to get acceptance. And in a lot of ways, they did, because they got into a certain group, a church, if you will, in which everybody's got the same message and the same messaging. It's going to be an iMessage. It's going to be blue. I was an iPhone user when they rolled out the iMessage. And I remember thinking, isn't that what BlackBerries were doing? And nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear what I had to say. No, I just think that they're fine. I have a lot of friends that are, or I used to have a lot of friends that are iPhone users, but they stopped texting me when they found out that, my phone wasn't getting their pictures. The pictures were coming in all pixelated from their phones to mine. My pictures to them, fantastic. Their pictures to me, not so good. And I wonder if that's by design. And I feel like that's the other thing about iPhone users. They don't know that they've been had.
Langston, I know you probably have a rebuttal to that, but in that, also describe what an average Android user is like for you.
I prefer not to make eye contact with them, but I would say that to the customization that keeps coming up, because that is an ongoing thing that I hear from Android people. Oh, the amount of customization you can do with your phone. Not one has actually ever customized anything. It's always straight out the box version of the thing, and yet they keep telling me how many more options that these technologies can afford them. And while that may be true, I don't know that most people are actually benefiting from the customizable technology. Thus, it eliminates, I would say, 58% of the argument that Android users make in solidarity with this technology. And I'm sure Samsung makes a fine phone. I'm sure that it works well and gets all the things done that you need to get done. But when it comes to the value of social interactions with human beings, we are social animals, first and foremost. We need to be able to remain connected to one another. And the people who choose to cut off this major element of the way that we socialize are no different to me than those who watched people die randomly from the illegal vape pens that were killing us for a week and a half and then never again until COVID. They're no different to me than the people who continue to vape merely because they wanted to be correct rather than safe and comfortable with the rest of humanity.
Langston, are you a preacher's kid?
Brother, I'm a sinner. I ain't got nothing to do with the Lord. I'm a devil man myself.
The inflection started to come in there a bit, and I was like, man, is he about to take a text? This is
no.
There.
In the book of Steve Jobs, it says.
Well, let's talk bubbles, green or blue. That seems to be really the heart of this argument. I've been in many a conversation with folks who fall on either side of this. And most of it has to do with what's called RCS texting, Rich Communication Services, which is a text platform that Android users and many other phones are using, whereas Apple has enclosed theirs inside of iMessage, which does create the blue or green text messages depending on how you're interacting with an Apple phone. Both of you have been engaged in this argument. Baron, have you ever experienced someone expressing some level of irritation with you for having green bubbles? And what was this like?
It's exactly like racism. It is the same experience. People being like, why are you green? Why are you green in my phone? And then I have to do the labor of explaining to them why my existence is inconvenient for them. That is what the experience of having green texts are. Because that's the other thing, is that even what you're saying is a perfect example of how privilege works, because I have to explain why my texts are green to iPhone users, whereas their texts are literally any color that I want them to be. Back to that customization. I can make them black, white, blue, purple, yellow, and a background that is the sun setting, in Japan if I need to. That's what I can do. So your texts are whatever color I decide, whereas mine are always locked into some sort of dichotomy that makes you hate me. I feel like that's by design.
Langston, your thoughts? Green or blue? How do you feel about green or blue messages, I should say?
Well, I have some thoughts. I think all this time, people have been having these adverse reactions. That's a gentle way of putting it, to these green bubbles. We've cursed at you. We've shamed you. We've ridiculed you for the green bubbles. And yet, despite all of that, despite all the innovations and customizations that your phone allows you, the Android developers have never once been like, hey, bro, let's just change it to purple one day. Let's just make it so that every text message that goes out is not green anymore, but we can change what people are reacting poorly to and see if that in fact gives us a weird bump that no one expected. They remain stuck in their own bullshit, in their own green doo-doo, if you will. And because of that, they're unable to see the other side, to see the real growth that these supposedly better phones hope to provide. So no, I don't need to choose between green and blue. Blue has chosen to innovate, to move us forward, and green remains stuck in the past.
It sounds like you're saying blue is the light and the truth. I just want to
Yeah, again, the preacher inflection. I have to jump in with a fact check just real quick.
I was going to ask.
Okay, yes. Well, Baron, do you want to? You can go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, isn't that happening these days? I believe I've seen a couple of different articles about how the format or whatever, was it
RCS format? Yeah, texting.
They're trying to change it up so that way this inherent prejudice can get a little. It's it's kind of like a DEI for phones, right?
Well, also that, and the fact that the texting that comes in on Apple phones is actually changed color by Apple and not by Android. So Apple actually has control of that color. It's an indicator that these are non-iMessage phones. Does that change your argument at all, Langston?
It does not. I acknowledged from the beginning that these are evil corporations. And they are evil corporations fighting other evil corporations. Do your due diligence, Samsung and the rest, to hold Apple accountable for the bullshit that they do through litigation. I don't know the strategies that evil corporations need in order to make it so that they are no longer blocked or made or weakened by this other evil corporation. But if you can't keep up, bitch, then you lose.
You're saying it's systemic, is what you're saying.
I'm saying Apple has more money. What is it than Denmark? It's like something dumb.
Yeah.
Where like the company itself has more money than countries.
Sure.
Like we're not going to win. None of us are going to beat this. So either choose your king or what are you participating for?
Baron, based on that argument, do you think that it's possible that iPhone users have been brainwashed by the cult of Apple?
Oh, absolutely.
May I say that was a very leading question, but go on, Senator.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was the exact thing that I started to feel myself. I started to feel my own cognitive dissonance, if you will, in the way that I was interacting with the world as an iPhone user and felt like, why do I just walk around with this air of superiority? I don't even know why anymore. And the more I looked into it, I saw that, that they were they had, I believe a wise man once said, that's how they get you. That's how they got me. And then when I read that after the takeover of Tim Cook, that Apple phones were no longer manufacturing their own screens, that they were actually buying their screens from Samsung, that I went like, oh, interesting. So an Apple iPhone screen is actually a Samsung screen. I wonder what's up with Samsung is what I asked myself. And that's why I'm there today.
I think certainly if that makes you feel better to know that there's a Samsung screen on my iPhone, then I'm happy for you. I'm not here to take your joy away from you, to yuck your yum, as it were. I just believe that at its root, that is the history of big corporations in America. I was listening to a podcast very recently about how Microsoft basically just usurped the internet from Netscape Navigator. Netscape Navigator created sort of like our navigation systems on the internet and made it simple and easy, and everybody loved it, and they were charging a fair price. And then Microsoft essentially made a fake version of that worse. They acknowledged ours is worse, but they made it free, and then everybody moved over to Internet Explorer and will never use Netscape Navigator ever again. And that just is the nature of the beast. And until we learn to take them all down, then I just prefer the way iPhone cuts Samsung glass to fit my phone.
Well, it sounds like somebody asked Jeeves last night. Am I right?
Jeeves, what you up to?
We'll be back with more PCDC after this break. Let's talk a little bit about market share. So in a 2024 report from eMarketer.com, iPhone is leading the mobile market in the United States with a market share of 60.77 to 38.81 for Android phones. However, as of early 2024, Android had a 70.69 market share worldwide. So Langston, do you think that, well, actually, Baron, I'll ask you, and then Langston, you can respond. Baron, do you think that the iPhone is a case of American exceptionalism?
Absolutely. I think that iPhones are our version of the credit score, something that we live with, that we assume that other people live with. But you go to another country, they have never heard of that. They're like, a what now? A credit score? So you're saying that your government has put a number to your literal value? And you're like, yes, they have. And that is essentially what I think that the iPhone has become in the United States, a sort of a sign of prestige, a way to differentiate oneself from other Americans and to say, I am better than you, which is, I think, the most American thing about it. I didn't actually know that Android had a larger global share, but, I also know that most Americans have absolutely no idea what's happening in any other country, myself included.
And may I say, I ain't never been nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. What that world got to do with me is what I say.
I think I heard you say build that wall is what I think I heard you say.
It was in the same font, at least.
I'm proud to be in
I'm surprised by your singing voice right there. I feel like that's the exact same mentality of somebody that goes to Prague and is like, hey, where's the Burger King? There's no good food here.
Langston, what would it take for you to consider buying an Android phone?
Oh, well, my career would have to make a drastic downturn.
What are you trying to say?
Oh, my God.
I would have to be in the dumps, Ronald. No, I just think it would require a big shift in community. I think community is such an important part of this that Android users are often ignoring. while they acknowledge that they are victims of the iPhone community, they're rarely acknowledging the way that they have essentially disconnected from a community that sort of has all made a similar agreement. And so while I respect that maybe this community is slightly cultish, I'll give you that. There's a cultish quality to it. But if I move to Utah and I'm living amongst the Mormons, then I need to practice a little bit of Mormonism, even if it ain't my thing. You know what I mean?
Hey, I think we just got the name of your next special. A little bit of Mormonism.
A little bit of Mormonism.
Baron, what would it take for you to buy an iPhone?
Well, I think that Langston actually made some really interesting points right there, which actually reminds me of another reason that I moved over to Android in the first place as well. My Samsung Android phone is waterproof, and that became a big thing that became concerning to us when our children started walking around and picking up things and throwing them in, I don't know, toilets, stuff like that. Where you're like, what? That was $1,300. And now I can just take my phone out, literally wash it with soap and water, and move on with my day. To come back to iPhone, I think that iPhone's going to need to make some movements into the waterproof phone territory. And I also think that they just need to, the last few innovations that I've seen from iPhone, like Samsung screens, and I saw when there was a news announcement of when they changed up their OS, and I remember thinking that looks exactly like Android. So like, to me, they're slowly moving toward being like Android phones, I think. And the more that they become that, the more interested I become. I think the other thing that iPhones need to do, because the iPhone, and Apple, this is their whole MO, is that their hardware and their software are exactly the same, right? So if you have an iPhone, then you have an Apple OS operating system, whereas I, with an Android, have a choice of 10, 12 operating systems. I've switched back and forth from different systems. So if iPhone were to allow you to switch up what kind of OS you want without having to crack it, then I might be interested in coming back to iPhone. Less funny, less funny, more techie than I was expecting to sound this whole time.
It got very serious.
Listen, I think the first company to minority report our lives is going to be the future technology that we all buy into and accept that, well, I will throw my phone in the ocean if you can make it so I can beep boop, you know what I mean? Like in front of me. Like you just swipe and you're like, I don't
Some of
like
that does exist. No, it's just not out there. It's not out there in market share yet.
And that's what I mean is once somebody puts their branded name on it and says this is of us, then it's going to change Apple's relationship to everybody, Samsung's, whoever's. But for now, if we're still rocking the phone game, come on home. Come on home, Baron. We miss you, man. Come on home.
This has been so much fun. I have to get closing arguments from each of you. So you each have about 30 seconds uninterrupted to state your final case. And Baron, we'll start with you. Android phones, your closing argument.
Thank you for starting with the person that has less poetry. The thing, no, I think that ultimately, I've been very happy with my phone, and the thing that has struck me, I realized since I moved to Android and got an Android phone, is I've had the same phone for multiple years. Whereas when I was with Apple over there in the iPhone world, I was going through phones like butter knives through butter, and so I feel like
what butter are you using?
Just not a lot. I'm allergic to it, but still, it's the imagery that I'm talking about. That like iPhones, I felt like I was going through many of them because whatever I was doing, whatever I needed, the iPhone just thought it wasn't right and would crash on me, would freeze on me, would lock up on me, would be like, "Oh, you're out of storage." So things like that were just the practical things in my life and how I actually use the phone, is where I went to Android instead of trying to fit everything I do into a prescribed box created by the demigod Steve Jobs.
Langston, your closing argument.
I'll say this. To quote the great Jay-Z, who quoted probably another person that he didn't give credit to. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. iPhone just has the numbers. They just have simplified the way that we communicate with each other. They have simplified the way that we sort of have standardized the world. And in a world where things are continuing to burn, our country is becoming more and more divided day by day. Isn't it at least inspiring knowing that the people who hate you because of your politics, because of the color of your skin, because of the very essence of what you represent as a threat to their humanity, isn't it at least a little bit comforting to know that when you text them, fuck you, it shows up blue?
It shows up blue no matter who.
And that's what they mean by that phrase. Blue man, no matter who, they mean iPhone.
Okay, with that, this has been a great conversation with both of y'all. I'm ready to issue my ruling. As you know, the whole point here is to get to majority rule. So currently is 1-1-1. The goal is to get it to 2-1, me being the final vote here. So this argument in the beginning, it felt like it started something that was kind of plain iPhone versus Androids. But Langston, you pointed out something very early on, and this kind of was a thread throughout the rest of your argument, which was it doesn't matter who the oppressors are. If you're going to choose an oppressor, choose the best oppressor. And my issue with that argument is that as someone who is kind of...
You take issue with that argument?
Let the judge talk.
my issue with that argument...
He's coming over to my side. Let him go. Let him cook. Let him Tim cook.
That in most cases, that if I would agree with you, and I think in most cases you did agree in the ways the uniformity of Apple can be oppressive to most users, but you're saying, but the phone is better. You also noted that community was there, which means that people would have to leave their community to join theirs, thereby issuing that by de facto, because we're all doing it, we're all in the same community. And I think that's right around then is when I started to leave your side. But if I'm being honest, I don't think you ever had a chance because I am an Android user. Yes. I have a Google Pixel. And so you had a lot of work to do in this argument to begin with. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to convince me. And in this case, I still think it's Androids, which means the PCDC official position is that Androids are better than iPhones.
Wow.
Man, I wish I had Lashik right here. You know, so it could be like, hit it, boys. Freak out. Lashik. That's how I celebrate.
Oh, listen, I wish you luck with your little podcast. I imagine if this is where you're going to position yourself and this is the type of game you're going to set up, then it has no future.
I understand. In the spirit of that, Langston, where can people find you?
You can follow me at Langston Kerman on all social media platform. Nobody else wanted this name. And you can watch my special. It's called Bad Poetry. It's on Netflix now. And you can listen to my podcast. It's called My Mama Told Me. It's hosted by me and my friend David Bory. And we talk about Black conspiracy theories. And it's a real sick time. Baron has a great episode that we did a long time ago about 5G.
We did.
5G
Wow.
was the topic of conversation with Baron Vaughn, and it's very funny. We're going on tour for My Mama Told Me, so if you want to see us live, we'll be in a bunch of cities coming up, and you can check all of that on my website and my Instagram and all that.
I am excited. You are coming to DC, and I plan to be at that show. So I'm very excited for you to see you and you to be there. And I also saw clips of Bad Poetry, so I'm looking forward to checking that out as well. Baron,
please.
Where can the people find you?
I will be at Langston and David Bory's show when they come to Atlanta. You can also see me walking around random Targets, just looking at stuff. Not buying, but just looking. Go to baronvaughn.com. That'll redirect you to all my different socials. I'm on Instagram. I used to have a Twitter or an X, but then it got stolen. And Elon laid off all the people who could have done anything about it. So I got an errant, illegitimate Twitter X account out there. So if you know how to get that back for me, hit me up on my website, baronvaughn.com. You can message me there. And, check out Grace and Frankie on Netflix. The New Negroes, of which Langston is in the first episode, is on Paramount Plus. Thanks for having me on here.
Thank you both for being here. Thanks again to Langston and Baron. You can hear more from Langston Kerman in his new Netflix stand-up special, Bad Poetry, streaming now. For more of Baron's work, check out his series, The New Negroes, streaming on Paramount Plus, and Grace and Frankie on Netflix. And you can check out more Pop Culture Debate Club with Lemonada Premium. Subscribers get exclusive access to bonus content like Langston and Baron recalling their first mobile phones. Was it a BlackBerry? A Nokia? Listen to Lemonada Premium and find out. Thanks for listening to Pop Culture Debate Club. See you next week. Pop Culture Debate Club is a production of Lemonada and the BBC. It's produced by Jamila Zara Williams, Chrissy Pease, Donnie Matias, and me, Ronald Young Jr. Our mix is by Noah Smith. Rachel Neal is VP of New Content. Our Senior Vice President of Weekly Content and Production is Steve Nelson. Commissioning Editor for the BBC is Rianne Roberts. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax and Jessica Cordova-Kramer. Follow Pop Culture Debate Club wherever you get your podcasts. This season of Wait For It is brought to you by Big Fig Mattress. Now, I know there are other mattress companies out there, but Big Fig is specifically designed for fat folks. They've made a quality mattress that will last 20 years with a full replacement warranty and a 120-night trial just to make sure it's the right mattress for you. Sometimes when I travel, after a few nights of sleeping on those hotel beds, coming home to my Big Fig mattress is a vacation from my vacation. And listeners, you can have that vacation too. Go to the link in our show notes and take the Bed Builder quiz to get exclusive discounts on your new Big Fig.
Radiotopia.